Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 441. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's cracking?
This is a DC Comics podcast. We get together and we talk about the books we read this week. Coming up on this week's show, we have Aquaman issue 1, we have Absolute Batman issue 4, Batman and Robin 17, Batman Dark Patterns issue 2, and in Patreon book, I'll be talking about American Vampire 1976 issue 4. Also, Connor's here.
Yes, yeah, I showed up. For once.
I wasn't sure if he was going to interrupt me when I didn't introduce him, or if I'd get,
No,
like how long I could go.
I knew you were doing the bit.
Okay. Yes, yeah. Connor's here with the second day in a row I've seen him with a very, very old man looking jumper on.
Again,
It does.
It is very cold here, and this is a nice winter jumper.
I mean, I'm wearing a jumper, but it's not an old man jumper.
I'm sorry for having style.
Style?
You look like you're gonna go move some boxes on the docks.
Hey, it'll probably keep me warm if I did.
Yeah, that's why sailors and stuff wore those cable knits.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the cable knit.
What is this show
It's very
become?
old man now.
What's happening?
It's the beard and the cable knit, Connor.
That's fine. That's fine. They are warm, and that is all that matters.
You look like you're fond of lobsters.
Yes, fond of your lobster.
No,
Matt, you're fond of the lobster.
Finally watched it.
no, I'm not fond of the lobster.
Come on,
Whatever the opposite of fond is, that's me. Let's just say that's not a Matt movie.
To be honest, I don't outright love The Lighthouse. I think it's good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I still encourage you to watch it because I can't accept you not watching something because you think it's too weird. I just, on principle,
Yeah.
have to.
But it was such an obviously not a Matt movie.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's what makes it funny to make him watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, so for the people out of the loop, Pete's been telling me to watch The Lighthouse for years, especially after The Northman. He's like, oh, The Northman, you like that one? Go back and watch Eggers' other one, The Lighthouse. And I was like, I'm okay. And I couldn't take it anymore after Nosferatu. That was the one missing. And weirdly enough, too, because of when it came out, only one I didn't see in theater. And I'm kind of glad, because I don't know how I would have reacted in the theater to The Lighthouse. That would have been a whole thing.
Yeah, I can't imagine you'd have enjoyed it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it may have been a bit awkward. You've had to have hid your weird homoerotic boners occasionally from people.
Yeah.
At least in the privacy of your own home, you could just, let it fly. But
That's true. We just let that flag fly, nowhere to do that in the theater, but yes. So yes. Now I finally understand the fond of the lobster, and it is funny.
yeah, William Dafoe sells that line. Like, he really...
Willem Dafoe's. Here's the thing. I like Willem Dafoe. However, him associated with all the Eggers projects, I love him even more. Like, you put him in an Eggers movie, I know he's going to be my favorite part. Maybe that's not true with The Lighthouse, but
What was your favorite part of The Lighthouse then, if it wasn't him?
I don't know. That's like asking me which of my teeth to be pulled, which one I liked more. He's definitely weird.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I don't know. It's not even just Eggers though. Like, he was in Poor Things, just about a year or so ago, and he was very good in that. Defoe's in his cookie period where he's just enjoying chewing scenery, and he's entertaining whilst doing it. So I'm not going to complain.
No, not at all.
But yes, so yeah, we don't have any news this week. The light on that front, I guess, not a surprise. We're expecting solicits next week now, and it's still just in that post-Christmas lull. I'll just remind everyone, though, if you're wondering where the annual episode is, the sort of the 2024 awards, because week 5 this month has basically no books, we're just going to do it on that week. So it's a little bit later than it normally is.
Was the Ram V book announced last week then?
What Ram V book? What are you talking about?
Ram V and RK book that got announced this week. The new Resurrection Man.
That's the first I'm hearing of it. Look,
right, okay.
I checked Newsarama. If it's not on Newsarama's headlines, I don't see it.
It was definitely announced. He announced it on his Twitter.
See, this is the thing. This social media malarkey.
So
I missed this as well, Connor. So this is not just a Pete missing something. I missed
bet the
this as
site
well.
that should not be named has it.
I don't feel bad at all, Matt. Don't you worry.
Well, no, because it's Ram B. He's one of our patron saints of the show, so I feel like we should be dialed in.
It would have been in the solicits next week if we'd missed it.
Like when you say like there's no news, I'm like, there's a whole new Ram V book announced.
Well, I didn't see the news. I'm not scouring every individual writer and artist's Twitter looking for
You don't just see, you don't follow some of these?
I try not to spend that much time on Twitter these days, Connor.
Right.
That's
So no Ram B news on Newsarama as I'm looking at right now, but they got a Who is Commander Star whole breakdown of that character from a dreadful Batman book.
They've turned into like, I mean, I'm not saying it's actually written by AI, but there's like a formula to the headlines that really pisses me off. Like there was one that when I was looking earlier, it's like the Creature Commandos post-credit scene explained, : does Creature Commandos have a post-credit scene? And I'm like, I feel like that sentence doesn't quite work. Like like you've already said there is. Anyway,
that's like everything to know about this character who dies. Number one, they didn't die. Like, what?
There's also Jeff Lemire's teasing in his newsletter that he's doing a Batman and Robin book later this year.
He's taking over the current book, or he's doing a separate book?
I don't know. I think like it sounds like it might be a sequel to the Robin and Batman.
So
okay.
Probably
Is what it sounds like, yeah.
Especially since Johnson just started his run recently.
Yeah, it's just a 3-issue mini drawn by Dustin Nguyen again, so it's probably
that one.
a little black label
to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So we were stalling there because I thought you were going to find some Resurrection Man information, but
I've got that here as well, yeah.
Okay, on you go.
So it's called Resurrection Man.
I missed this.
Quantum Karma, 6-issue mini. It says prestige format, so I don't know if that's extra long or if it's going to be the like the black label.
That'll be black label style.
Format
Yeah, that'll be
trim.
the bigger pages. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not an ongoing, or not that I'd expect an ongoing from Resurrection Man, but it's a black label as opposed to a in-universe mini.
I would assume so. It doesn't say black label on this specifically, but that might come in the solicits.
I mean, black label, Elseworlds, whatever branding they're deciding.
Yeah, whatever they want to call it. Yeah, it's Anand RK on art. So obviously they've worked together a bit in the past.
Hell,
I don't think they've done any DC work together.
They might even slap Vertigo on this for all I know. Like, I mean, Resurrection Man could be called Vertigo if they want to.
I think it has been when Morrison did it in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, regardless of what it is, I'm sure we'll all be excited to check it out and cover it.
Well, and just knowing that he said something, what's the subtitle of it about karma?
Quantum Karma.
Yeah, that checks out with Resurrection Man and, some theories and, philosophies in Buddhism about karma and resurrection and rebirth and all that type of stuff.
Yes, but Quantum Karma is when lots of little Connors all get their comeuppance.
Very good.
I thought it was pretty good, yeah. So it's a later week for books, so we'll probably ramble a little bit more than we typically let ourselves, just because. Public service announcement. Die Hard 5 still absolutely sucks. It is one of the worst sequels to anything that has ever been seen. If you want the full review, go check out the new collector's cut over in the Mail Fuzz Movies YouTube channel.
Is that Live Free or Die Hard?
No, that's the 4th. 5 is A Good Day to Die Hard.
Oh yeah, so it's not one of those things. It's not a good day or a good movie. So one I haven't seen. I can't bring myself to that one.
If you ever do decide to watch the theatrical cut, because you'll feel robbed if you watch the extended and find out you got all the scenes of Mary Elizabeth Winstead got taken out and you didn't get to see her.
Why would I do that? That's the whole reason to watch.
Yeah, for some reason they cut all her scenes out of the extended cut. Very strange.
I don't know who's the actor that was Captain Boomerang. What's his name?
Oh, Jai Courtney. Yes, he's there.
Jai Courtney. 100% more Jai Courtney.
Yeah, his stink is all over that movie. I tell you, between that Terminator Genesis, that man was just.
Has he ever been in anything good?
No.
I'm struggling to think of it.
Unless we count him getting killed off very early on in the James Gunn Suicide Squad. Unless we count that.
The highlight of his career has been being mistaken for Sam Worthington. So I think I was like, yeah, Jay Courtney's really good in Avatar. Like, that's not him, but
Yeah. And Sam Martin's not even that great. He just lucked out that he got attached to a James Cameron thing that'll keep, flooding the money in for the rest of his life.
But he was also the Terminator too, right? He was in Salvation.
He was, but we don't want to talk about that, Matt.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Their career is very, very funny.
Yes. He was also in Man on a Ledge. I remember seeing that in theaters. Couldn't tell you much about it other than he was on a ledge.
He's a man on a ledge, on the edge, ready to do bad things, maybe. That's a Bruce Springsteen song. It's got to be.
Elizabeth Banks was the policewoman talking to him while he was on said ledge.
Gotcha. You remember that much?
It's more than maybe other people would.
Yeah. It's probably more than Worthington does.
Surely some of the script that you had to memorize is stayed in there.
Just gone.
I gotta know who directed this now.
I couldn't tell you who directed it. Jeez.
No, I'm gonna pull it up and I'm gonna look because now I'm curious. I remember seeing that poster everywhere when that came out. They were really pushing that, but
John
didn't see it for myself.
Mackenzie, that's my guess.
No, not even close.
Oh, was it?
Asker Leth.
I was never going to pull that out of my ass.
Nope.
I just picked two common names. I would never have come up with Asker.
Yeah, Asger.
Oh, Asger, sorry.
Yes, that's all right.
Yes.
Yes. Wow, a lot of big names in this movie.
But who else is
something that nobody remembers? Oh, you got, as you already said, Elizabeth Banks. You got Anthony Mackie. You got Ed Burns. You got Kira Sedgwick. Ed Harris. So
Ed Harris? Damn.
Ed Harris. Yeah, so yeah. William Sadler looks like he has a cameo. He's listed in the cast credits.
Shame it's so forgettable because I don't remember any of these people being there.
Oh boy, that's the poster I remember right there.
That said, though, I'm only put money on the table right now. It was better than Die Hard 5.
Oh boy,
it's a bold claim.
I'm feeling confident. Now, was it better than Die Hard 4? That's a much harder one to say. Although Die Hard 4 does suck, though, and it's probably worse than you remember it is. But
is that where he launches the motorcycle into the helicopter?
It is, yes.
Yeah. And Oliphant's the main bad guy?
Yes. He's a mediocre bad guy, and it's one of the worst edited movies that exists. It's terrible.
Gotcha. Kevin Smith in that one, too?
He is, yes. But it's not as bad as Die Hard 5. Right, as bad as 4 is, it's not as bad as 5, and that is
what amazing praise you're giving this movie.
I know.
So,
it's not as bad as the sequel.
Is it going to step on anything if I ask your Die Hard rankings? Remove 4 and 5. You know?
I don't think. It's one's the best. Obviously, it's a masterpiece.
Yes.
With a Vengeance is very, very, very good. Let down maybe a little by the last 10 minutes. Been a bit underwhelming, but really enjoyable movie. 2 is very watchable. It's not, it's definitely a big step down from 1, but it still feels like John McClane. It feels like it's, it helps a lot that it's made in that era, and I think it's fun. It's just not as well paced or structured. The villain's not as good. A lot of the usual sequel complaints. And then 4, then 5.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yes, but yes, I completely forgot in Die Hard 5 they retcon what caused Chernobyl. I completely blanked on that.
What?
These movies used to be about a cop in a skyscraper.
I know. Yes. And now having seen Chernobyl, the miniseries, and feel like I'm a lot more knowledgeable on the subject, it really stuck out to me when they just started casually saying, "Yeah, the bad guy in this movie caused Chernobyl secretly." What?
So it wasn't the graphite; it was the bad guy.
It was the bad guy stealing uranium.
How did they cause it?
They were stealing too much uranium, and something bad happened as a result. I can't remember the exact specifics. But that's why. It was them stealing uranium to sell as weapons so other people could make nuclear missiles.
I'm giving 2 thumbs up here.
Sounds amazing. Just watch this movie.
Do you know what the sad part is? It sounds funny bad, and it's not. It's just depressing. It's just depressingly bad. It's boring. It's depressing. They've got this weird, like, gritty tone of like, oh, we want to be like a serious, like, action thriller.
Well, it's a victim of the success of 24, right? Like, they were trying to, 24 was a huge hit at that time. And so they're trying to do that type of thing.
Kinda.
But John McClane's not a spy, you know? He's a cop. He's an everyday Joe.
Well, that's the thing, though. 24 was inspired by Die Hard, and I would say Die Hard 4 is very inspired by 24. 5 feels like it's, I don't know, going even deeper into, like...
that kind of stuff.
I don't know, like we're going past, like, a Jason Bourne and maybe into other territory, like just other
oh my god, that's John McClane. Oh man, Pete, did you see Ayers doing another movie with Statham?
Is it Beekeeper 2?
No, but it's along those same lines.
It's basically just another Statham movie.
Yes, it's Statham 14.
Beekeeper was shockingly entertaining. Shockingly,
I think it's pretty fun. It's not good, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, that man at one point, well, actually, it was someone else that said it to him, but the phrase "to be or not to be" came up. Every single time someone started talking about protecting the hive, or how bees work, or how beekeepers work, I was cackling with laughter.
Okay, this one's called a working man, and instead of being a beekeeper, he's an ex-Royal Marines commando who's now a construction worker.
He better use, like, construction tools to kill people in various ways.
I mean, he's holding a sledgehammer in the poster.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, looks like David Harbour's in this one too. So I'm already, as if I wasn't there.
Like, give me some puns. Give me some good kills.
Oh, and then he gets better. It was originally a Stallone vehicle.
Okay.
It was originally developed by Stallone, based off of a novel called Levon's Trade. So yeah.
All right, they got my attention. I can't
March 28th, 2025.
What's that, Connor?
There's no way it's not fun, at least.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way it's boring.
Unless somehow...
It might be bad.
Unless he tries to, like, I'm going to shake this up and direct this one completely differently. Unless he decides to do that for variety's sake. But as long as he's, like, giving me shitty villains that I hate, and the wisecracking puns and some good kills, like... I mean, I laugh pretty hard. There's one scene in The Beekeeper where someone goes, like, off the end of a bridge, and, like, the dummy flying, like, got me good. So, yeah. Weird recommendation, but yeah, The Beekeeper was surprisingly decent. Anyway, that's the Connor's favorite segment that I know he's been missing in his absence. The Kindle rankings, formerly known as the Comicsology Top 10. That's right. All three of us are here for it. It's like Christmas.
It's the worst Christmas ever.
It's like Christmas. Don't be a Grinch, Matt. Don't be a Comicsology Grinch.
Oh, I will be. My heart will grow 2 sizes that day.
Well, if it's anything like the movie The Mean One, that'll instantly kill the Grinch because his heart will get, because your body can't take a heart that's twice as big as it's meant to be, so you just die.
Talk to Andre the Giant. that's literally his cause of death. An enlarged heart. Yeah.
All right, we're looking at Wednesday. Books are mixed as they have been. Guesses for what number 1 is.
You calling on me or Connor?
Oh, let's let Connor give it a go since he's not here as often.
I know there's a couple of number 1s, but I still think it's probably Absolute Batman.
It is Absolute Batman. For its 4th month in a row, I believe, is number 1 on the rankings. It's doing well. Number 2 is Uncanny X-Men. Number 3 is Magic, which is an issue 1. Number 4 is NYX, unless they're pronouncing it Nix. I ask that every time. Number 5 is Ultimate Black Panther. Number 6 is Wolverine. Very Marvel-heavy top 10 this week.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm waiting for you to say,
There's not that many Marvel. DC books.
That'll be why, yes. Number 7 is Amazing Spider-Man. Number 8 is DC versus Vampires World War V. Number 9 is Batman Dark Patterns. And number 10 is New Champions, which is an issue 1. Batman and Robin just missed the top 10. Is at number 11. Where is Aquaman on this list?
That's not a great sign.
Nope.
I'm going to click load more. So, hold on a sec. Did this like get like a technically like an early digital release or something? It doesn't count as Wednesday. It must, because there's not like I've went down to like number 40 and I'm still not
Not
seeing
that I'm
it.
aware of.
It has it listed here on Comic Geeks as January 8th with the rest of them. So
Yeah, but that's the physical Player Comic Geeks. That's what they're tracking. I'm wondering if Aquaman technically came out on a different day as far as Amazon are concerned. I'm curious because that doesn't make it like. I've checked the 7th. I've checked the 9th. I'm not seeing it. This is very strange.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Where's Aquaman? But the weird thing is this is almost comforting in a sense because I feel like it's not an indication of how well it's sold. It just feels like some sort of weird technicality
Like a
that it's not here.
glitch.
And not there at all.
No, I mean I'm looking like I'm like into like trades and I'm not seeing Aquaman issue 1.
Does it show up when you search the book? It definitely is for sale there. Like why would it not be like?
I mean,
broken?
it is. I definitely.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I
Like,
read
maybe
it.
it's like yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, but it's not broken right now, like on Amazon's listings.
Let me see. What does? I mean, it says January 8th in the sales page, like for the book.
Yeah, I was wondering maybe if they took it down to update the file or something, because that's happened before. But no, it's still there.
Yeah. I see, like, I do know that something happened with Absolute Batman where something got left out of the physical. So, and then they went back and added it in digital. So yeah, maybe something like that happened with Aquaman. I don't know.
Yeah, very strange. But it's a number 1, so you'd expect it to do even reasonably, despite the fact that it's Aquaman and Aquaman's never going to be that big a seller. But it seems to just be not on this rankings at all. Which
Aquaman's for the sickos like us.
Yeah, but I think the fact that it's not even like in the top 50 here implies to me there's just some sort of weird technicality on Amazon's system that's causing it not to be counted.
Yeah, because it being over that vampire book, right? Like you'd assume it would be at least over that, you know, because it is a number 1. It's a big company.
No, Matt, you say that, but that vampire book beat Dark Patterns and Batman and Robin, so I don't think that's a certainty at all.
I'm seeing Aquaman when I do it on my page. I'm seeing Aquaman right after World War V.
Are you on Amazon UK?
I am, just to check.
Yeah, well, we
So
always
it's showing up on there.
Yeah, we always use Amazon US for the record.
Yeah, I know, but just so it appears somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, it's good. That sounds reasonable enough.
With the state of the world, it looks like the U.S. isn't acknowledging the royalty of Atlantis.
I feel like some parts of the US
could
could
the new Greenland.
I feel like some of the US could be using some of the water right now. Maybe they should be cuddling up to some Atlantis.
People like I know you just made a joke to make a joke, but people have said that about LA's on fire. Why not use seawater? You ever heard of salting the earth, guys?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to do that.
on the UK ComiXology, it's 10th. So
Okay.
Everything else lines up kind of similarly to what you were saying.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably in a similar place for reels on the Amazon US chart. It's just for some reason it's not showing up. But regardless, I mean Namor's number 14, if that's a consolation to anyone.
One
Basically
true king of the ocean.
Yes, the Marvel's crappy Aquaman.
Amazon UK does not care about Namor.
That's fine.
Namor was first.
Like it's just not here.
That said, it is by Jason Aaron, so maybe Matt is going to go read it at some point.
Wait, what number is it at?
6 of 8.
Okay, well that's too far now. I'll wait for the trade.
You're still going to read it though.
Maybe we'll see. I have been reading, getting some caught up with some American Vampire for maybe later. I have had a hankering for stuff that isn't DC, so maybe.
Oh, be hankering, eh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, there you go. That was a. Hey, you can't say that Kindle rankings didn't have a little surprise and some mysteries to solve. See?
Yeah.
The drama of Amazon being unable to track their own sales.
Hey, there's always excitement in the Kindle top 10, but that'll do that. All right, let's look at the comics. We got Aquaman, issue 1, Jeremy Adams writing with John Timms, on they are. So, new Aquaman run has begun. Wasn't really, I didn't really look into it beforehand and had a sense of what they were going to be doing with this Aquaman run, so I went in pretty blind. And it does a lot of typical Aquaman-y things or not even Aquaman, like issue 1 things where it's like, hey, here's a big simple like crisis for our hero to come out and be a hero and solve. In this case, it's a plane going down over the ocean. And the book tells us here that Aquaman is actually taking Mira's powers from Absolute Power. So he's actually got the water kinesis stuff going on here now. And is basically able to safely bring the plane down on a wave. Like basically the plane's surfing a wave. Aquaman's able to bring the plane down.
Pretty cool. I haven't seen anything quite like that in a comic, so that was a nice use of it.
It was a big 2-page spread, so they gave it a big moment. I think what stuck out to me, though, is that when he first jumped out of the water, like, there's a couple of, like, fishermen, or as the Coast Guard, actually, on a boat, and they're like, oh, Cullen, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, one guy says, you can cancel the cavalry. We don't need them anymore. And then you turn the page, and it's Aquaman, and I thought, dude, it's Aquaman. He's not Superman. It's Aquaman. What do you think he's going to do for the plane?
That is a great question.
And I know it turns out he does have a plan, and he does like safely land the plane.
That?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
No, they don't know that. The Coast Guard can't know that he's, done the power swap thing.
Dear.
I'm just thinking he'll just jump up out of the water and catch it, or like maybe he'll get a big a big whale to jump up.
Yeah,
and
that's typically what he would do. Or I don't know, maybe he could get one of the giant squids to catch it.
Yeah,
that he's
I wanted the image of a big massive fish jumping up and catching a plane.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's got the hydrokinesis now. He's doing all that stuff. He's also miserable because he's king again, and he hates listening to all the bureaucratic nonsense. And tries to get out of it as best he can, but everyone around him basically forces him into it. So there he is.
Man has to do his own job.
The whole royalty aspect of Aquaman, I don't know. I was kind of tired of it, so I feel Arthur on that one.
Well, you say that, Matt, but I think that's the point. I think this is Adam saying, "Hey, we know you're not interested in this part, so we're making you relate to Aquaman here, and don't worry, we're going to move on from this as quickly as humanly possible.
Just burn it all down."
Yeah. But they also say that the people that are most suited for power are the ones that don't want it. So it kind of works on that level too.
Yeah, because they're not power hungry, so they're not just doing it for their own gain.
And he's just like bored. Next, The thing that confuses me, though, they're talking about the sharks encroaching on some of the fields and stuff. I'm like, can he just not go talk to them, in the Aquaman way, and keep them clear?
Yeah, at first I thought maybe he'd lost his power. When he'd gained mirrors, he'd lost his own.
Yeah.
But no, we still see him, summoning the fishes.
I mean, just because, do all fish have to, follow what he says?
Well,
do they have a
John's
choice?
Explained it as he's not talking to them as much as he's able to kind of imprint on them to go away, right? And some fish and creatures are more accustomed to it than others, but so it's almost like a push, So I remember during the John's run, there was stuff with sharks, and he kind of put that push in them to swim the other direction. Right.
Okay, but is it a permanent thing though? My assumption would be that you can tell them to go away, but as soon as he's gone for a day, they'll just come back because they'll smell whatever they're smelling again.
Yeah. I assume it is that.
Yeah.
Maybe do Atlanteans not have fences? Can they not build something to keep them out? I don't
it's
know.
water; they can go up and down quite easily. So I'm assuming it'd have to be more of a dome than a fence.
An Atlantean
turn into a
fence.
dome city.
Okay.
When has that ever gone wrong?
Wasn't it a dome for a little while? The last run?
I'm pretty sure it was at one point. Yeah, it doesn't sound. Basically, they have to get Mr. Terrific on the phone and say, "Hey, Mr. T, can you design us a big spherical chain link fence? Thank you." We still want the water to come in and out, but we need to keep out some of the riffraff.
That's it. Or they could just go to Bruce and get some of his anti-shark spray.
Yeah, it's been much like the hoverboard. I don't know if that works on water.
That's true. True that.
Yeah. So Yeah, I mean, there's a big water monster attacks a city, Daytona Beach specifically, and yeah, Aquaman goes to fight it. Big sip of my action scenes, jumps around a little bit. If I was to critique the issue, is I would say that the big plane sequence gave me my big action scene, and I don't know if this scene in the middle was that important, other than just the fact that he's away from Atlantis while this big thing happens. You know, that's kind of what it's there for.
And it's also something that he's not, like, he's kind of confused by, because, like, he mentions this reminds him of the stuff from the Snyder, from what was it called, Deep
Drowned Earth.
From Drowned Earth, right? So making it familiar to him, I think, you know, that helps storytelling wise. And then he gets to fight a water kaiju.
And don't get me wrong, I'm
cool.
not dismissing it outright, because I'm assuming, because we don't really get an explanation for where this thing came from, so I'm assuming that it's going to tie into whatever's happened later on, and there'll be more fleshing out of it. But in the moment, I'm like, I already had the big action scene with the plane. This just kind of feels like another big action scene.
It's an issue one. They always try and double up on action, don't they?
I suppose.
Very often to make sure you grab people.
But it also shows too that he's not exactly what he was, right? He's getting his butt whipped, right? Getting thrown into buildings and whatnot, too. So it also shows he is struggling a little.
Yeah, but is that a case of him not being what he was, or this just being a bigger threat that he's not used to fighting?
I think it's more he's not used to his powers.
Okay. Anyway, he goes back, and Atlantis is gone. It's like it's just been kind of ripped out of the ocean. There's like some remnants left, but in this like mysterious golden pearl, which I laughed at because earlier on when Jackson mentioned this pearl, it said editor's note: check out this issue of this miniseries, and this issue of this one shot, and this issue of that miniseries. And I'm like, Jesus Christ! Okay, they've been seeding this pearl for a while then, apparently, and a lot of things I didn't read.
Which I appreciate on Adam's part, because right, you're thinking he's taking over new creative, and I'm sure he was told to include some things, but I feel like, you know, it's cool of him to address those, because that's what's been going on in Aquaman when we haven't been, you know. So someone's been staying up to date. I'm sure they feel like they've been rewarded, but I have no part of me wants to go back and check those out.
Yeah, the weird thing about it, though, is that, like, the only thing that annoys me about it is the ridiculous editor's note saying, here's, like, 4 places this thing's already shown up. And I thought to myself, if you just didn't mention that, and it was just a mysterious new thing, I wouldn't have questioned it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but instead, it's from Flashpoint Beyond, The Flash 785, and Batman Brave and the Bold, issue 18.
Oh, there you go.
And I read Flashpoint Beyond. I don't remember this thing. So
did I read Flashpoint Beyond?
Flash.
I think I did.
Yeah, Flashpoint Beyond was the stuff with the Adams. That's what we were introduced to him with Johns and Adams, and it was the Thomas Wayne stuff. That was the intersected with Batman and Flash.
Yeah, that was the Batman and Flash crossover, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's what I thought it was. That's why I assumed this pearl was to do with that, and I immediately checked out.
Wait, was it that, or was it the miniseries that came later that was like a sequel to Flashpoint?
It was both, because that's again all the stuff with Thomas Wayne, and then it involved the. If I remember how it ended, right? They had the Flashpoint in the bottle.
I'm asking, which one of these two things was called Flashpoint Beyond? Was it the crossover where it was 2 issues of Batman and 2 issues of Flash, which was way back?
No, that was the button.
That was the button.
The Flashpoint Beyond came afterwards, but I think it was a direct sequel to that stuff.
Okay.
But it was a crossover, because I remember stuff happening in Batman and in Flash in both of these.
Okay. I've decided I don't care. What I do care about, though, is what this actually sets up here. And I think that, I mean, this is the sort of thing where, like, readers who remember this thing or, like, go back and check for this sort of stuff, it's a cool Easter egg. I don't know if we needed the reminder to make it feel like, oh, this has been a big continuity thing that we haven't addressed yet.
Because it's so important to the back half of the issue. Like that's why they felt like they had to address it so much, I think.
Anyway, so Aquaman, distressed at this, goes to the Watchtower, gets some help from Batman and Wonder Woman, tries to figure out what this pearl thing is, because it was sort of left behind. And the vibrations of it or whatever, Batman tracks to a specific location, and they go into the water. They're in like a little sub. Aquaman's obviously just swimming, and they find this kind of like sort of like almost reef-looking gateway, and the orb starts to like go towards it, and it creates like a portal. It almost looks like there's a bunch of like debris or rubble like spinning in a sphere, and creating a portal, which Aquaman, of course, chooses to go into, even though Batman and Wonder Woman try to talk him out of it. But the big sort of cliffhanger at the end of the issue is that after he's went through it, and we see what happens after he's left, Batman and Wonder Woman see that once all of the seaweed and whatever else was wrapped on there has went away, and all the rubbles went away, it's an Omega symbol that is like red hot, like it's on fire, or like it's been in a furnace of some kind. So is it too much of a stretch to say that Atlantis might have went to the Absolute Universe? Because that was the first thing I thought of when I saw this at the end.
I mean, it definitely has something to do with Darkseid. And the last time we saw him, he was doing a suicide run. So
I didn't go Absolute Universe with all the stuff with the Pearl being from the Flashpoint universe stuff. I assumed it had gone like to there.
Yeah, but the rest of the multiverse doesn't exist right now.
That's true. Yeah,
they said that when they set up because right now it's just our universe and the Absolute Universe.
Yeah, and we do know that at one point the Absolute and regular are going to meet. So maybe these are the seeds of that.
Which I was not expecting
through Aquaman.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that to start to be set up during Aquaman. Now, they might not have went there, but it's hard to read like this Darkseid symbol at the end as anything else than it's connecting to the larger scope of things right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, whatever this orb is, according to this Wikia account, right, that takes it through, it was used in the Flashpoint timeline by Aquaman. Right, he used it to try to sink the UK, but during the 1 Minute War with the Flash, and where they fought the Fraction, it was used to create a spring and restore life to that wasteland. So it looks like that Adams was just using it almost as a MacGuffin in these kind of things. So I feel like whatever it is, it's going to really come to focus here in Aquaman.
That makes me think...
Or it's just another MacGuffin.
Yeah, but that what you just listed there makes me think that this Pearl doesn't have anything to do... Because I assumed it would have come from the same place this like Darkseid portal gate came from. But everything you just listed there made it sound like... No, it's just like an object of great energy or power, and it was attracted to this gate. Like, but it's not actually like it's not actually originated with it, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So it's also possible that Pearl sent Atlantis to somewhere else and not Absolute Universe, but maybe that's where Aquaman's went by swimming through this. Because keep in mind,
along those lines.
Because keep in mind, the Pearl did something to Atlantis on its own, and then it was going through this that then turned out to be the Omega symbol. So it could be Aquaman could have went somewhere separate from Atlantis, and maybe not. Maybe they just went to the same place. But either way, I don't know. Curious.
Very, very curious. But again, like the stuff that we do know so far, I do feel like Adams is sowing seeds of something. You know what I mean? I don't feel like it's whatever it ends up being. I'm sure, I'm sure it'll end up being worthwhile.
I'm sure he's got a game plan. I'm not doubting that in any way, shape, or form. It's an interesting first issue because it sort of plays as a very typical first issue. And then the cliffhanger at the end, which I'll give them credit for, I didn't see coming. It was a surprise when I turned to that last page, so I get points on that level. But it does make me question like how much of this is now an Aquaman book and how much of this is a book for like the DC at large. It's just using Aquaman as the vessel. I
think it's more likely that, which I'm conflicted on because on one hand I'd like an Aquaman book that's good, but I don't know if this is going to be it because I don't feel like it's going to be a real Aquaman book. Not really. I mean, we'll see.
Well, we know this happens to Adams a lot, where like think about how he started Green Lantern, and it got caught up in nightmares, and then it got back to right.
Yeah, but this is a little bit different. This is the premise of the book, right?
Yeah,
well, maybe.
Well, I mean, at the very least, it's the first arc of the book. Like, there's no denying that. Like, this is at least what you're starting off with. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, maybe that's how you make Aquaman feel important, is that he's at the center of whatever the whole DCU is going to go through next. So it could be a good thing in that sense. It just depends. Like, are we doing more? You know, are we going to have more of him being a father to Andy? Are we going to do more? You know, the extended Aquaman family stuff down the line and more arcs, or is the purpose of this book just to further the larger, you know, two universe story that we're doing right now between the DCU and the Absolute Universe, which, you know, and probably sometime next summer is when they're going to finally start to intermingle in some big story. But I don't know. I didn't dislike the issue though. I mean, I think it looks good. I think Tim's art is nice and nice and clean. It's big. It's bold.
Thing is, I think for me, other than that last page reveal of like, oh, that's what we're actually going to be doing, I think it's a very mediocre issue. Almost by design, in that, like, it's just, here's some action sequences. Here's just setting, like, here's a recap of what the current status quo is. And now we're going to go, okay, and this is what we're doing with the rest of the issue, you know, rest of the book, or the rest of this arc, at least. I don't think it's a particularly exciting or compelling first issue. Like, if we don't have this cliffhanger at the end that upturns everything, I don't think there's much here to make me excited about, you know, a regular Aquaman book from this team.
I think that the reason why you feel that way, and I kind of get it, is because by the nature of what it reveals at the end, and the fact that this, like, oh, Atlantis has disappeared, comes out of nowhere, inherently nothing before that point can, like, tease that or like, set anything up. Like, it has to be just such a random shock that everything before that point, like I say, the water monster we fought, I'm sure, like, maybe that'll be a second arc thing. Maybe we'll come back to what that monster was and it'll tie into whatever arc 2 is going to be. But at least for now, it does kind of feel like, no, we're now doing this, and like, we can't possibly do anything else because Aquaman's not even here anymore.
And functionally, I think part of why that fight exists, I know you said earlier, was an excuse to keep him away while everything happened. But more than that, I think structurally it's for this issue to kill time. Like, it's to kill a handful of pages so we can get to the end. And because action sequences are usually pretty quick reading, and they're pretty quick writing, not necessarily drawing, but writing. And it, like, okay, there's 3 or 4 pages filled quite comfortably. You don't need to worry too much about plot, or, you know, not too much dialogue usually. It's just like, we can just have a good couple of pages of action, and that'll fill the quota while we push towards the stuff we actually want to do at the end.
Yeah, a bit of character development perhaps instead would have been good, but
because up until you get the Omega reveal, right, it almost feels like it's Aquaman having to adjust to this new kind of, not identity, right, but the new power set. Him back being king, doesn't want that. It's almost like a be careful what you wish for kind of vibe, where now Atlantis is gone, you know, because he wasn't digging being king and all that other type of stuff.
He was taking it for granted, I guess, almost.
Yeah. And now it's gone. So I thought that's kind of the direction it was going in, is like, what's a king without a kingdom? And then we get the Omega reveal, which just completely upends all of that. So it kind of made it for a different reading. But I did get excited to see the Omega thing, right? But I'm a continuity nerd, so I want to know how this fits into the bigger tapestry of DC.
Yeah, I mean, it was a surprise.
That's not everybody.
Yeah, like it was an effective final page. I think maybe this, like, it would almost have been nice to have an arc before this, like if this was arc 2 of the book, just so that it had one arc of just being Aquaman, getting used to the powers, you know, settling into being king, give a nice sort of simple plot kind of thing.
I think even if not like a full 6-issue arc, I think it needed like a 2 or 3 issue kind of lead-in story.
About a half an issue. Yeah,
because like I say, it made the issue feel like kind of just by the numbers, like mediocre. It wasn't bad. I want to make that very clear. Like, there was nothing wrong with it. But other than that final page, if this was the direction of the first issue of an arc, of a new book, it wouldn't be compelling me to want to stick around and read a lot more, because I'd be like, it's fine.
You're not into water kaijus?
I think if it had leaned into that and done more with it, maybe. But like, because the back half just like goes on about this pearl, and then it's that, and it's just, like I say, it ends up just feeling like it feels not that exciting.
It feels throwaway because it doesn't matter afterwards, because once Atlantis is gone, that's all we care about.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to like the kaiju stuff in Absolute Wonder Woman right now, where all of it's really riveting because it's treating everything like that's what the book's about. Like, it's about saving everyone from this monstrosity.
Yeah, it all feels like it's one continuous thing, right? Like we're really focused on that, and then we cut back into the story, and then we come back to it. So yeah, it feels, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's binding everything together. Here it was like Connor said, to kind of throw away, but I'm always here for Aquaman versus monsters. So I really enjoyed that part of it. But yeah, the dark side thing threw it a thing, because I was not expecting any ties to dark side in Aquaman. So I'm curious to see where it goes, though. I am hooked on that part. Pardon the pun.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the art is pretty solid. I have not much to complain about. I think there's maybe one or two faces from the side, like when there's like a profile, looks a little bit wonky. But other than that, all the big money shots look good. Like all the big splash pages, your fight scenes, all that kind of thing. Coloring is very important in an Aquaman book, typically because of all the, you have to do a lot of interesting things when you've just got a lot of water all the time. So take some effort to do that. So I approve of such thing. So, all right, what are we rating this then, Matt?
I'm gonna give this a straight 7.
Connor?
I'm gonna go with a 6.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with Matt and go with a 7. I think it's good. I think the endings was exciting and surprising, but there are some things to critique and maybe say just how sort of like by the numbers it feels before that point. So, yep, 7 out of 10 for me. Absolute Batman, issue 4, Scott Snyder writing, also story by our usual artist as well, whose name I'm blanking on right now.
Nick
Dragata, thank you. And art by Gabriel Hernández Walta, who this is a flashback issue, which kind of goes into a little bit more of the origin and some of his like current attitudes and whatnot.
Yeah,
This
Snyder kept going out of his way.
Definitely a fill-in issue, right? Like because Dragata needed some time.
Yeah. So as Snyder's been saying online, he goes, guys, this is gonna happen. We're gonna have these built in where it's kind of not, he didn't want to say a pause in the story, but it's going to help frame things towards later.
I feel like personally right now, without the context of later, I think I'd rather them just take a month off. Like, hey, if you can get 3 issues, take a month off and then 3 issues. That's what you got to do for Dragata's pacing. I think I would rather that than just shove these kind of random fill-in artists in between, personally. Maybe you could do these between arcs.
I don't know. I don't mind this. I think to take, to jump up, because I only read issue 3 this week because I wasn't here for the last when it came out. So jumping from that one to this back to back, it wasn't that bad. Although having maybe a gap, it might have affected things a little bit differently.
I mean, I think my only issue with it is that, because I think this is a pretty solid issue. I think some of the new spins on the kind of the early origin stuff. There's like one moment as well where he says, "The rich have eaten well" or something like that, and I thought, oh, that's a good little reference to year 1 because that's a big famous line from year 1. But I think my only real issue with it is that it does feel like, maybe to Connor's point about this, maybe would be better between arcs rather than in the middle of an arc, because I really liked the ending of issue 3 and was excited to continue the story from that point, only to start this and be like, oh no, we're not doing any of that this issue. We're just going to be doing some more origin stuff.
So last page aside, where it kind of like continues setting up the next actual issue. There's stuff in this issue that maybe could be referenced in the rest of this arc. It's possible, but none of it feels like essential that it had to be there. Like if we'd learned all this after issue 6, I don't think there's anything that would really feel like we were missing at that point.
No. I wish I knew going in that it was going, because I didn't really know until I started the book that it was going to be like a separate kind of part of the story.
I'd seen Snyder mention that, hey, it is still part of the arc. Like, it is still included, but it is a different artist. And obviously I didn't know what to expect, and because I'm not familiar with this artist, I don't think I've ever read anything from him before. They're not bad, but I feel like it's jarringly different from Dragata's stuff, and I'm not as big a fan of it.
Look, Batman's not, and I understand. This is early. This version of Batman, of Absolute Batman. He is not jacked enough to be Absolute Batman. Early on, right? That only comes with Dragoda.
That's kind of built in, right?
But that's fine. Yeah, he's not built enough yet.
But he's like freakishly huge, even in Absolute, and that's part of the stylistic, right?
But yeah, but it has to get to that size. So early days, him being a bit slimmer makes sense.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm just saying, like with the Dragoda, I feel like that's still like other artists would still draw him big, right? Not freakishly big.
Yeah.
He still looks kind of like he looks like a very average person here. He doesn't look like even like a regular continuity Bruce Wayne. He doesn't even look like that here.
No.
Yeah, so this issue basically breaks down into three things, which are all kind of running concurrently, and it kind of bounces around them, which is sort of young Bruce Wayne at the trial, giving a statement before Joe Chill's going to give his statement. So Joe Chill is the culprit of the shooting that happens, even though the context of the shooting is very different. A little bit of time with Bruce and his father before his father's death, where he's building this thing for this bridge for bats.
Yeah, so what he has to do, right, is that the zoo is having...
Hold on, just the one second. I'm just saying what the three different things are. And then the third thing is like an early days Batman thing where he's like trying to be Batman. Some of it's not quite working, and he kind of changes up to be a bit more like what Absolute Batman's going to be. So those are the three kind of lanes that it keeps coming back to over the course of the issue.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Matt?
No, I was just saying that it's the tie with him building the bridge, right, is that there's a contest for the schools, right, and that you have to do this kind of like young engineers contest, and it has to be based off an animal at the zoo. So Bruce picks bats because bats are very, there's more species of bats than almost anything else. They're very highly adaptable. So he's trying to create this bridge, and we find out through the course of the story as he's doing this trial and error, which is the kind of tie that goes through each of those stories Pete mentioned, is that he's the reason they were at the zoo. He won that trip for the class to be there. And, it kind of feels like this is him, part of the guilt of being Batman is the fact that he won that contest and the reason they were at the zoo that day and all that. So I really like that tie throughout.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't think I ever quite understood exactly what he was designing. I mean, they kept calling it a bridge, but I didn't understand why it was trying to, like, ward off bats. Like, I was confused as to...
I don't think it's trying to ward off bats. I think it's inspired by bats. It's a bridge that people can use in different communities.
But yeah, but the one that he does at the end has, like, little buzzsaws that come up at the tips to, like, keep people off or something.
How's that any different to, like, fences with spikes on the top?
Robotic buzzsaw arms is a bit different from a spike.
I mean, it's a bit cooler.
Well, I'm saying, because he mentions why the buzzsaw was there.
It's like to protect the community, right?
Don't get me wrong. Like, everything thematically he was saying about when he was building it, when he was talking about all these different types of bats, they're very adaptable, they can be anything, they're the only mammals that can fly. Basically, we get this idea that he's very inspired by the idea of the bat, rather than being scared of the bats, like typical DC universe, right? Like, I got thematically everything he was saying. I just never quite understood what the hell he was actually designing.
Well, yeah, it's a bridge, right? And so I do like the what he ends up with is something that can pack up and move, something that's mobile, right? And that's the whole concept that it flies.
Okay. See, what you just said, it didn't make sense to me. Are we talking about a bridge, as in a bridge that someone can either walk or drive on to get from one side of something to the other?
Right. So in the contest, it was like it had to do with the changing environments of stuff, right? What design choice could help the most people, right? Let's just boil it down to that. And to him, it was
an actual bridge.
This bridge, this design, right? Is it can be moved to different places, right? And here he shows how the stuff comes off.
So
right?
if there is flash flooding in a climate crisis, for example, you can drop one of these bridges in to reconnect two communities.
Okay.
Yes.
I was just, when he said it was portable, I'm like, what do you mean portable? How is a bridge portable?
Yes. It's kind of like in Batman Begins when Lucius is describing the tumbler and how they can launch it across rivers to help make bridges, that kind of thing. There's
okay. Bonus points for somehow relating it to another Batman thing, but go on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's how I took that as is, all of this stuff that this Batman's very pragmatic, and it even shows in his design overall as a kid.
This is the thing. None of my questioning of what the hell he was building, because I never quite understood that, actually made a difference to understanding the point of the scenes, because it all made sense in that side of things.
I'm assuming we will see this bridge at some point later in the arc.
Oh, possibly.
Because they talk about how it can be used almost as a barrier fence for defensive opportunities and offensive as well. He mentioned at one point, like depending on what you're doing. Yeah. So I'm assuming we will see it again.
Especially, this is the same. Go ahead, Pete.
I was gonna say, especially towards the end when he starts talking about how bats will get in anywhere and sort of adapt to the climate, and as he's saying that, we get panels of how him as Batman is taking over a tower here, or a building there, and he's spread out his habitat. I guess I'll use it that way.
Yeah, because this is the same Batman that would later take a giant excavator, put a bat logo on it, and drive it through the city. You know. So yeah, I'm sure we'll see this bridge in some form and him using it, maybe even flying it in, to save some people.
I will say I was very confused at first when we get the first scene of him trying to be Batman, and he's got vampire teeth and claws, and I'm like, what is this? What am I reading? Yeah. And obviously after the scene, when everything's wrapped up, he takes the teeth out and starts saying, "Oh, this is stupid. I'm using vampire teeth," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is your failed attempt to try to be scary." All right.
So I thought we were doing the whole Legends of the Bat type thing, the criminals thought he was a vampire, and then he's biting people. I'm like, whoa. What are you doing, Bruce? This Bruce is definitely a different cat.
Yeah, and he even points a gun at someone, and that's the other thing that he throws away in sort of disgust and what am I doing here? What is all this crap?
He likes his theatrics.
He likes his theatrics, but he realizes that he has to go bigger. This is very small time. This is a Hammer movie with someone putting on some vampire teeth. He has to do a Christopher Nolan scene. So he has instead, when he sort of reshapes himself a little bit into a more recognizable Batman, he has a remote control little bat car that has a what do you call it when you?
It's a jack that he uses.
A jack, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, the jack, right? And so he basically he drives this car. So he's been monitoring these trucks that are smuggling weapons in and out of Gotham, and he drives it underneath the truck, and then we get a great big. It's not even a full page spread. It's just the top half of a page. But basically, the back of the container, just goes flying up into the roof of the tunnel that they're driving through. It's a really fun little action sequence, actually. I really like the some of the details here. He was talking about how because the weight of produce is a little approximate because of what it is, that's what they hide the guns in for customs and traveling and all that. And it says that people can say that they smell. You can smell oranges when they fire the guns, and I thought that is a really weirdly just vivid but dark. The idea that if you smell oranges in Gotham City, it may be because someone who has an illegal gun's been shooting someone. It's kind of just a really great little detail, I thought.
Yeah.
So you got that. You've got a young Bruce leaving the city to go and sort of find himself and whatever else and train and all the rest of it. So this is very much your kind of origin story issue that sort of fills in some of the specific gaps that you might have for Absolute Batman, and it does a lot of intercutting between them. So yeah, I mean, there's some fun action sequences. Obviously the art is very different. I do think the art's pretty solid, though. It's got a very old school kind of feel to it.
Yeah. The muted colors help that too.
It's not bad, but I don't really like it, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I don't think there's anything objectively wrong with it. It is a stylistic choice. I think it does what it's trying to do. I just don't really enjoy looking at it that much, unfortunately.
Oh, that's fair. So Batman tracks down who's behind the gun smuggling. And it's all the rich people, or not all the rich people, but some of the rich people in Gotham. So he's up in the big penthouse party, and he's watching in on them and all that, and has to run off when some helicopters show up. But the issue ends with sort of late teens Bruce, I assume, I don't know if he's, or maybe he's become, but it's hard to tell with the art exactly what age he is, but it definitely feels young-ish anyway. But it ends with him going to the prison to visit Joe Chill, and that's where we end. So presumably next time we come back to this artist for a fill-in issue, I suspect we might get more of this, what this conversation with Joe Chill is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we didn't really talk about like what he actually says at the court, but he basically just says that Joe Chill is a monster and he hates him.
Gives him the finger in front of the
Basically,
judge.
F you, Joe Chill.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to wait and hear what your statement is. I don't have to listen to a word you say. Like, that's not ever going to happen. Which I guess the ending kind of like, no, he did come back to listen to something that he's going to say.
Well, because he's been changed by his experiences, right?
Mm.
And that's what it shows. From the time he was a child to now, you got to figure he's Batman, because the page before that.
Yeah. It's curious to see, like, what sort of, like, if assuming we get to see this conversation at some point, what type of character Joe Chill will be here, because typically I'd say he's usually portrayed as someone who has some level of regret for what he did, but given what he did was in this universe was effectively like a much bigger thing.
Yeah, it was a mass shooting, you would think.
I was trying to avoid that phrase, Matt, because YouTube might ban us, but on you go.
Well, let's edit. Let's throw an edit in there. A bigger event.
Yes. A shooting on a larger scale.
Yes.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think it'll just demonetize, and this channel's not monetized anyway. But I'm trying to get into the habit of not saying that phrase just because YouTube.
Well, now that you've done
Here
it, you
in
might as well
America.
say all the phrases you're not allowed to say.
Okay, suicide. That's the other word you're not allowed to say anymore on YouTube.
You have to say unalived. Like the kids do.
Isn't that some anime thing?
No, it came over from demonetization of the social media networks because people were using it as a they were adding tags to it.
Oh,
so
but
it's
isn't there an
easier.
anime called Unalive? I feel like I've heard of that.
You're talking to the wrong person.
I don't know.
You don't know Chainsaw Man, but you know Unalive, if that's a thing.
Well, it may not be a thing. Maybe there's something that sounds like it that I'm conflating it with.
I don't know.
I suppose.
There's a lot of anime.
Connor got very upset with me yesterday because I'd never heard of Chainsaw Man.
I only know it because of children.
Right. Well, my point was...
That's what it is. Connor's hanging
I-
around with children. That's what's going on here.
I mean, I do work with children, I'm not gonna lie.
He does.
Like, there is that. But also, my point here was, you are in enough circles where people being fans of anime and manga is not that unusual. So you might have seen references to the bigger ones of the moment.
Pete has built a beautiful, immaculate wall. So where he doesn't have to enter it with Lord of the Rings and anime and anything he doesn't want to.
What are the big anime? Like JJK? Jujutsu Kaisen?
J. Jonah Jameson?
I love that one.
No.
J.K. Simmons?
Yeah.
I don't know what's, but that's his big one. That was the last big one that I can think of.
The only reason I know that one is because it involves jujitsu and some guy that I follow that's a jujitsu practitioner. Someone asked him
Matt's
about
heard all these
things. Yeah, I've heard of them, but very tangentially.
All I know about it is there's a guy called Gojo, and he dies, and it's Gojova.
I know there's a Dragon Ball Z and an Evangelion.
Those are some big ones, yes.
And there's a Bebop Cowboy.
Oh yeah, Karen never shuts up about it. Apparently, I'd like that one.
That's not even my favorite anime of his, but I think it's like that's probably the one that you'd like. No, you'd like that or Samurai Champloo the most out of like popular mainstream anime.
Goes on about the jazz intro, like I'm impressed by jazz. I'm never
you might
impressed by
like the
jazz.
hip hop samurai one though.
like I'm impressed by jazz as a T-shirt.
Never impressed by jazz in all my life, damn it.
Yeah, goddamn. He's J.K. Simmons in La La Land.
I actually don't remember him being in that movie. My mind went to Whiplash, and I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure he liked jazz in that movie. He seemed quite into it.
Yes, no. He's the owner of a restaurant, or the manager at least, that tells Gosling to play, just the hits for Christmas. And of course, Gosling does what Gosling does and plays what he wants, and he gets fired.
And he's incredibly charming while he's doing it.
Yes. So
plays just the hits and starts doing Gangnam Style on the piano.
Hey, crowd would love it.
Not my crowd. If I paid to eat at that restaurant and I'm hearing Gangnam Style on the piano, I'm throwing a fork.
Anyways,
Anyways,
I think I'd be mildly amused by it.
Yes, absolutely, Batman.
Can I just say I do love like when he's talking about the different kinds of bats that he's been studying, and we get the whole the bat thumb, and him walking around on those crutches, and the caption that says, you know, maybe a lot weird, and just the self kind of referential here that Snyder has, where he's almost like, you know what, I can kind of do different things with Batman in this book, and it's okay. I really appreciated that, and that image of Bruce balancing on the stilts of these bat thumbs, I think is very funny.
Yeah. He talks about adapting to the world that he's actually inhabiting. So, and comparing that to like a bat, like adapting to the the habitat, the cave, wherever the bats decide to live. He studies Gotham. He studies like what makes Gotham tick. He's looking at I mean, I don't know if this is actually what he's looking at, but it looks like he's looking at the stock exchange as if, okay, this is a big part of Gotham, so this is what I need to understand. I have to understand where the money's going, who's in charge, all these things to understand how to affect any change in the city. Like, oh yeah, all those implications I like a lot. That said, though, I wish it was just the next part of the arc, because it left off in a really interesting place last issue.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm wondering too if that cliffhanger from 3 being informed by here now, you know, it's kind of Snyder telling us Bruce is different, but he's not that different. That I don't think, you know, the choice that he made is what we think it is after reading this issue, right? So I mean, that's how I'm choosing to look at it. We're a bit informed of how different of a problem solver this Bruce Wayne is versus Bruce with all the money and whatnot.
That's true. I mean, yeah, the ending of 3 was very open to like several possibilities until we find out what the answer is. But I do think the fact that we can even consider that he made just the choice without any like plan the way he did is just a sign of, oh no, that's how effectively different this Batman is that we can even believe for a second that he made this choice because he's scared of losing his mother. Like, that's really good stuff. Anyway, I guess we'll rate this absolute Batman. What are you giving him, Matt?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
Connor?
It's gonna sound quite harsh, but it's not as harsh as that.
You giving a harsh score?
I know. I'll go with a 6.5 because I think it's a perfectly solid issue that feels a bit out of place in the middle of the arc, and then I'm just personally not a big fan of the art, which kind of drags it down. If this had an art that I'd really enjoyed, it would probably be significantly higher.
Yeah, I don't know where to rate this actually, because I do think it's good. I mean, I think Matt's 8 probably sounds a bit right to me. A little disappointed it's just not the next part of the arc, but I do think a lot of the ways that it kind of twists and shapes why Bruce is into bats in this world is quite interesting, and how it sort of like is kind of compared to how he's studying and like taking hold of the city. So yeah, I'll agree with the 8, but it is definitely a bit of a pivot for an issue.
Yeah, I'm just imagining this with like Fornes art and that kind of grittiness. That would really bump it up. But
I would probably enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin, issue 17, legacy number 83. Philip Kennedy Johnson writing, with Carmine D. Giandomenico and Javier Fernandez on the art. So, doing some interesting stuff here with the Memento Killer, which we've
Memento Mori.
Memento Mori, yes. Which we kind of last issue ended with, like, I think they're in Old Arkham last issue.
Yes.
And all of this, like, this dangerous, like, drug was getting pumped into everywhere. And Batman's, like, seeing stuff. He's seeing Memento. He's hearing the voice, all the rest of it. And
he's adamant it's a ghost.
Yeah.
Or not a ghost. Like,
and he's also
that can't be real.
The crash of an airship that happened in Gotham, right?
Yeah, Zeppelin.
Yeah, and so, like, it definitely makes me think of there's something up with this Gravedigger's Poppy. It's something more than just a normal fear toxin thing.
I do find it a little bit weird, the characterization of Batman being like, no, this absolutely cannot be real. There's no way that's a ghost or a demon or a spirit, whatever. Like, there's no way, given all the stuff Batman deals. Like, the man is friends with a ghost.
This is what we said back when they first started talking about this, is that the fact that he has friends with Zatanna and like all these other characters.
So if you ignore that aspect of it, right? Yeah. But I still get here that he's like, no, Memento's gone. There's no way it's the same guy over time, because I'm choosing to read it as this is, like, again, he knows Ra's al Ghul has survived centuries and whatnot. But this tells me that he thinks the Memento case was solved back in England.
Yeah, which
right?
is something.
So there's no way that, this guy's back because of that. So that's how I'm reading it.
The flashbacks also hint at that as we get more of them in this issue as well. The Zebra thing is interesting though, or the entities, the ghosts or whatever you want to call them, because Riddler at one point, or not Riddler, sorry,
Scarecrow,
Jonathan Crane, at one point says, "Yeah, shut the door. They're not manifestations. They can get in. Don't let them in." Like, now that doesn't mean that they're necessarily really what they look like, but he's saying that there's physically something there that's going to try and get in. So that is an interesting little detail to note. The things that stick out to me about the flashback story with this French detective lady is that when she's with the young Bruce, she can catch that he's lying whenever he tries to sort of make up a story about what his backstory is, and he eventually doesn't actually tell her the truth of who he is. He just avoids talking about it basically because she keeps just calling lies every time he tries to say something that isn't true. But when he eventually says, "I'm doing this because someone has to," she's like, "Well, you believe that," and that's kind of where that is. But that comes back up later because Damien says that in front of her, and she has a little flashback. But what's interesting is I don't think she knows. I mean, maybe she finds out later, but right now we don't know if she knows that Jack, quote unquote, is Bruce Wayne. We don't know if she knows that yet.
Yeah, it's possible she has figured that out by the end of the flashbacks.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, but we don't know for sure.
Or just that she sees a lot of this young Jack she remembers in Damien, right?
I think the way, though, it uses, she says, on second thought, lead the way, Robin, in quotation marks, right after that, that line triggers her memory. It implies that she's probably worked out that Jack is probably Batman. Whether or not she's made the connection with Bruce Wayne is almost irrelevant.
Yeah, no, my point there, Matt, was not that... my point is simply that she is recognizing the person she knew in this kid, so that this kid is connected to Jack, and that would lead her to Jack being Batman, obviously. But I think that's where we're going with this. It depends though. Does she remember what he looks like, and does she see Bruce Wayne and go, "Oh wait, that looks like you could be that guy I knew 20 years later," or whatever.
Right.
But I really thought they were setting up that their instructor, the teacher character, was going to be the killer. I thought they were doing a whole thing where, oh, he's here at this possible crime scene that we were going to stake out. Is that because he is actually the killer? Until the later flashback where, no, he's actually confronting the killer. So I'm not sure where they're going with that yet. But
no. And instead, they seem to be teasing more that the doctor that's mentoring Damien might be evil. Well, Bruce is convinced that he might be up to something.
Yeah. Back to what Pete was talking about with Professor Bly, with the crime professor in England.
Yes.
Right? It almost suggests to me he knows way more about Memento. And this almost here looks like he's trying to stop Memento from, exposing something. Because the way he says, "Leave the boy alone. I'm the one who found you, not him. He wasn't meant to see." So it's almost like they made some kind of bargain. Right? It's
almost like if you see him for real, that's it. You get haunted by him. He's going to come back and get you later.
Maybe less of a bargain and more just so that he didn't want to get anyone else involved. He's like, no, this has to be my personal crusade. No one else should get involved for whatever the reason is. I think that makes some sense. The whole thing with Batman being instantly suspicious that Damien's starting to grow really attached to this doctor character who's giving him advice and stuff. His instinct is this is suspicious. Damien's starting to like this guy. He must be malicious. Oracle, check if he's got any connection to Ra's al Ghul. This is clearly the mother's side of the family. Try to get their word in and make him not trust me.
Really, 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 really hope that this doctor is just a legitimately nice guy who is just helping a teenager out. And
it's more interesting if it's that.
It's way more interesting. If it turns out he is actually evil and in league with Raz or any of that, I'm like, I will roll my eyes.
Yeah,
because if he's just a good influence on Damien, then that's actually way more fascinating.
I do love the idea that Bruce is like, Damien doesn't like anybody. Damien likes this guy. There's something suspicious. What's going on? So no, I do think though the whole tie back to that that Thomas was a doctor, so this kind of care is within Damian. And when you get to that all, kind of that flashback within the doctor that is all bathed in yellow with the chessboard, where he calls him, like heir to the throne, that could be read as, he's talking about, maybe Damian becoming a doctor one day, like his grandfather. And Bruce is choosing to look at this maliciously because of everything else that's going on right now, right? With the whole Memento, because I feel like the stuff with Memento is affecting him on that psychological level, almost like it's a manifestation of trauma. And he can't trust anything, right? So this is going to be a thing where he thinks it's somebody to do with Al Ghul, but it's just like Connor said, a doctor who's nice to this teenage boy.
Yeah, I hope that they go on a more grounded path with this, and it's just Batman's paranoia, maybe aided with the drug that he's now ingested.
Yeah,
causing him to jump to wild conclusions. I mean, Damian ends up saving Batman's ass because it's he gets the little buzzer on his watch and comes in and saves him during all the stuff going down at Arkham with Batman starting to lose his mind as the place is on fire and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, because they do a whole thing here. Actually, one of the things that really told me that the teacher, the professor, was going to be the killer is that when Batman's like in the car with Damian and Damian's like trying to give him an injection to keep him alive or whatever, the panels of like the professor turning around and looking back at Bruce, and then the panel at the bottom of the page of the killer saying you weren't meant to see, they're the same pose. So the art was almost directly like leading me to think these are the same two people.
And it could be that Batman thinks that it's him, right? Because of this.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
And that he's never had closure on it. So, once he does find out who Memento is. But as of right now, the leader in the clubhouse is Professor Bly, at least to Bruce. And maybe that's why he's also like, it can't be, because we'll find out something else about the professor. Like, he died or whatever here. But no, definitely, that's definitely what this page suggests.
Yeah, and then when Batman wakes up a day later, Damian is kind of coming to this, like, a series of, like, sort of revelations of, like, hey, are all these weirdos that are in Gotham just here because you started doing your thing, and are we the cause and effect? Are we just making things worse by being Batman and Robin? It sounds like Grandfather was doing a lot more useful things for Gotham just by just being a good doctor. There's an implication here in the art that, he's kind of talking about Alfred and all the other people they've lost, during their time as Batman and Robin. And yeah, they're not in the best of terms. Robin goes off to answer the bat signal and basically tells you, the one thing I inherited from your father is disobedience, so I don't care what you tell me, I'm going to go answer the bat signal.
Now stay home, shut up, and look after yourself.
Yeah. Which
I also love the preamble to that, where he's like, is this what other families are like? He goes, there's nothing in here about downproofing or unarmed sword defense or poison immunity tests, so, and then it ends with him, telling him to stay there and whatever. So completely normal. Yeah.
I kind of like the idea as well that Damian might have even inherited a little bit Alfred as well now, like by this point, where there's a little bit of the way he talks back to Brooks, sometimes having a little bit of that sassy Alfredness in him.
The sassy Alfred.
Yeah. I could see that. So I mean, obviously, Gordon and was it Latroc? What was listening?
Latroc.
Yeah. Are very surprised to see a kid, and she's not particularly thrilled about a kid being involved until, of course, he goes full Damian and says, someone has to. And that's when she has a little flashback moment, and it's like, yeah, lead the way, Robin. The issue is building up, though. Batman's off to go deal with the gang war between Penguin and Tiger Shark, and Oracle's like, hey, you're in no condition to do this yourself. I've called them back up, and it's Red Hood, Connor's favorite. Connor's finally back on the show, and Red Hood's in an issue. Look at that.
Like, look, we've gone other directions with Jason Todd. We don't hate him automatically. I was a bit disappointed this is who it turned to be. So I don't know who I thought it was going to be, but I didn't think Red Hood.
But it could have been literally anyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, pick the katana or the crowbar, bud, and you don't need both.
Yes.
In mid jump as well. That doesn't seem very safe.
Looking forward to his new solo series, Red Hood and the Outhouse, where It's Red Hood fixing up shitters, because that's where he belongs.
Okay, so it turns out only me has an appreciation of Jason Todd.
I'm
after
just
the
messing.
Rosenberg stuff.
It's a work, Matt. It's
I have
fine.
PTSD.
Yes.
It's not my fault.
Yes. Well, because you stupidly read way too many issues of Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Not by choice.
At first, I'm gonna keep going until they're a team, and then you ended up getting stuck reading it for how
Yeah,
long?
he read the whole arc on his own before
Yeah.
the hammer came in.
Yeah. I was hoping it'd be a good team and it would dilute the Jason Toddiness.
But before I realized that our viewers are, what's the one where you like putting people in pain? Sadists? You know, before I realized they were all sadists and I don't trust them and why I don't open myself up to, you know, getting paid to read things.
You can always tell what time it is on a Saturday with the garbage trucks outside Matt's house. Every week, without fail. It's Saturday, it should be off today.
It's also very late in the day for that. It's like, to me.
So sometimes they come at 7, sometimes they come at 1. Lately, they've been coming at 1. And I was trying to talk loud enough to not go and then mute it, and they betrayed.
You had no chance.
I had zero chance.
No. Comes through.
It's fine. They're only interrupting Red Hood nonsense.
Yes.
All I can hear whenever I hear that is that opening scene of Terminator, right before Terminator arrives, and it's the big truck lifting up the dumpster. That's the noises I'm hearing from Matt's like window right now.
Come with me if you want to live.
All right. Yeah. I mean, this has been an interesting arc. I think it's gotten more engaging and enjoyable as it's went along. I think there's some pitfalls that Johnson could fall into, but I'm finding myself really into the mystery of like the killer and like how the present day stuff connects to the past stuff. Now, I'm
really enjoying it. It has a vibe, right? It has a tone that it knows what it wants to be, and it feels distinct, and like it justifies having a separate Batman and Robin book as opposed to just being another Bat book, like because it feels different.
And I think it's interesting as well that he's went out of his way to make it feel like Batman and Robin, for a lot of the issue, have their own thing going on. It's not just like they're always together. It's like, no, Robin's got his own thing. He feels guilty about that girl getting hurt, and he's like there at the hospital. Yeah. You know,
it really is treating Damian like the co-lead, where sometimes I feel like this book doesn't. It feels like Batman with Robin. They do feel equal, which is nice.
I think sometimes it goes too far the other way, where it feels like, well, Robin doesn't have a book, so this is a Robin book, and then there's some Batman on the side.
Yeah.
This is giving them both character progression.
Now, how soon into the run do we find out that Memento is one of the old gods, or a piece of, you know, because this is what Johnson's given us and all of his other.
Oh, you mean Olgren?
Yeah, it's a piece of Olgren.
One of them's Olgren.
He's like Olgren's amygdala or something, you know?
One day, this is all going to spin back to that Black Label fantasy book that he did that is like been wiped from existence. Like it's completely out of print. They didn't put it on DC Universe. It's just nowhere. Like they don't acknowledge it.
Was that The Last God? Was that what that called too?
Yeah. That was very good.
He went from the first god, or the last god, to the first god, to Olgren, and he's just seeding his ideas through here, you know? Which, again, do it, because I love this stuff. Like, I'm here.
Yeah, me too.
Philip Kennedy Johnson's an instant read, and I do love that this is a vibe in Gotham. Like, it definitely feels, like, gritty and a bit scary at points, which is, you know, with all the things that we've seen happen in Gotham to make it feel, you know, like that, there's that sense of suspense. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I really like using Another Eyes for the flashbacks. It's a complementary style, but still different enough that it like really works.
It's been very consistent with that as well throughout the 4 issues of this run so far. Maybe 3.
It's 4? I thought this was 3.
3 or 4. I don't know, something in that range. Pretty good. It's pretty good. It's interesting. It's a little bit different. There's a few pitfalls that you could fall into where I might not like where it goes, but by and large, I'm enjoying everything that it's, like they say, the vibe that's given off more than anything else. So, Matt, what are you giving Batman and Robin?
8.5.
Connor.
I'm gonna knock half a point off for bringing in Red Hood at the end. So with that in mind, 7.5.
I think I'll go with a nice healthy straight 8 out of 10 on this one. So very nice. Also, I got a random 10 of Reese's peanut butter cups.
I wish you
nice.
could share those through.
Yeah, half of them are white chocolate though, and I'm not a big white chocolate guy. But
Yeah.
once I'm done with the proper ones, I'll give them a try.
Yeah, those ones are weird because it tastes like Reese's, but just off because you're missing the milk chocolate. But the peanut butter is still there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did those in Halloween season. They called them werewolf bites or something along the lines.
Mm.
And yeah, it was definitely different.
If they're in a Christmas box, they're definitely snowflake bites.
Oh
Yeah.
sure. Oh yeah, this is cheap like Christmas leftover stuff.
Yeah.
This is why they're
I
purchased.
figured it would be at this time of year.
Yeah. It's like, hey, this is on discount because there's a Santa on the box and
Mm-hmm.
we can't sell it at Christmas anymore.
But you guys get the different shapes there, right? Of the Reese's, the trees.
You're
for
asking the
Christmas
wrong
or
person.
pumpkins.
I was going to say no, but we do get trees. I've had a Reese's
Yeah.
peanut butter tree. That is absolutely a thing we do get here.
So around all the holidays, right? So around Halloween, we get pumpkins and bats and stuff, and then Christmas season, it's trees and whatever else. My wife, who's a big Reese's fan, says that those taste better because they're not the cups. So like the proportions are a little bit different,
The
like the
ratio
chocolate.
of chocolate.
Yeah.
to-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering if that was the same over there. If you guys have.
That's
did do
actually
that.
why I quite like some Easter eggs, is because the thin
Mhm.
chocolate of the Easter egg is just a nice like size to like just slap, pop in your mouth and melt. It's
Mhm.
not too thick. And
Yeah.
Connor's just upset because he can't eat chocolate anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there are vegan chocolates that I sometimes get, but and there are some that are just like dark enough that they don't have milk anyway, right? There's one that I get occasionally that
Yeah,
uses
dark
hazelnut
chocolate.
butter.
Yeah, they've
No,
gone
no,
in for
no,
it.
but like
No.
it's not fully dark chocolate. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
like
Yeah.
it's like anything above like 45%. They don't really bother putting milk in. So technically, yeah, it will be labeled as dark chocolate, but it's not that dark. But I got one that has like it uses hazelnut butter, which is quite nice.
I mean, hazelnuts
Okay.
in general is quite
Yeah.
nice. So.
Exactly, but like honestly, I don't really eat that much anyway. I'm not that. I don't have much of a sweet tooth. I don't eat a lot of chocolate and sweets.
I wish
even
I
when could.
didn't. I really wish I didn't, because I would be in a
Connor
much
gets
healthier
his
place.
sugar from alcohol. So
Not that much.
no more.
No, once a week
Uh,
at most.
okay. Look
This
at that.
this
He's
I've been
maturing.
drinking the whole night is non-alcoholic.
That's piss.
This is a non-alcoholic hazy IPA.
No, he's into the water sports.
Why? What? Okay, look, I don't drink. Straight edge, right? Better than you. All that stuff. All I hear is how bad IPAs are because they're super bitter.
No, right.
Oh,
so-
that's what I thought he was reacting to my piss joke.
No, I was
Yeah.
laughing at that. No, at first I was
that
laughing
wasn't
at
that
that.
funny, but
But then he said it was a non-alcoholic hazy IPA, which at that point, everything I understand about IPAs is they're bitter and they're full of alcohol.
right.
Right?
So regular IPAs are fairly bitter. Hazy
Yes.
IPAs are objectively worse for you because they're usually more sugary, but they are a lot sweeter. They tend to be quite fruity, like grapefruit, like pineapple, like tropical fruit sort of things. So they're not actually bitter. They're not really bitter at
Okay.
all.
Okay. So basically, you're drinking your kombucha at this point.
Kind of. It's not a million miles away, but it's just not. It's
Yeah.
not flavored or anything like that.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that makes sense then, because again, IPA. My brother used to drink them when he was drinking, and he had a problem because they were higher alcohol by volume. And I was like, but what about the taste? He goes, if you drink it fast enough, you don't have to worry about the taste.
You can get
It's
like.
good lord, my guy.
So I've had IPAs that are like 4 to 5%, which is kind of like what your standard lager is anyway. So not that weird. But I've also had IPAs that are like 8-9%. So
Yeah, he was-
you know.
When he was in Hawaii, the brewery he used to go to, his friend worked at, they made one that was 11%.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
pretty very nice.
And no, but that was the thing, is he wasn't drinking it because he liked the taste of it.
He
He was
just
drinking it
wanted
to
the
get
booze.
messed up. Yeah.
The thing is, if you're doing for that, there are cheaper ways. Just drink some cheap vodka
Well,
right at that point.
But when you know the bartender, right?
Yeah,
You're getting the homie hookup. Yeah, I'm still laughing at Pete's piss joke because it was very Always Sunny. Because I feel like that's something they would have yelled at Charlie. So,
Uh,
that's piss.
just to ask him where he gets it. That's
Also, all this talk about bitter, and again, I don't drink, so I'm really talking out at my rear there. I'm also a guy that drinks black coffee routinely.
IPAs can be quite bitter because they're quite they're quite hop forward presenting, and hops are pretty bitter. Yeah. So
I just want to also, before people point out, I'm the coffee guy. Yes, I know it, but from what I hear, it's different.
If you did drink, because you are you like black coffee, you would probably be fine with it.
Yeah.
But it can be an acquired taste, but so can coffee, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've moved on also to kombucha at least once a week. I mean, very, very minor. Still fits into my straight edge, right? But yes.
Yeah, they're like 0.05.
Yeah.
Like they basically non-exist.
Anytime I'm starting to have stomach issues, a nice kombucha helps. So that fermentation smells like death sometimes, though. But
I've never tried a kombucha that I like. I've tried a few.
I'm pretty sure if you drink some piss, you'll be so focused on how bad the piss tastes and smells that you'll stop worrying about your stomach.
Here's the thing. How do you know I haven't?
I tell you that.
I haven't. I don't want people to think I'm I'm into that. I don't want to yuck anybody's yum here.
I bet he is.
Someone edit that confession out.
I'm just so disinterested.
Pete's going to.
I am just so disinterested by booze and coffee talk that the only recluse I have is to make piss jokes. Yes. So here we are. Anyway,
he could use a kombucha. Might make him less bitter.
I doubt it.
I'll just be more bitter because you're forcing me to drink something coffee adjacent.
No, it's fermented tea. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what kombucha is. What is it?
Yeah, it's fermented tea.
Oh well.
There's live cultures in it. It's like, so it's good for you.
I mean, tea's better than coffee, but I'm still not enthusiastic about it.
I love a good tea.
Yeah.
I'm not a hard drink
Yes, we know
guy.
you're English. No. What's your favorite monster? It's the white one, right?
White one, yes, the white one.
That's right.
Monster Ultra Zero. Specifically from the UK, because the US sweetener's garbage.
Yeah.
What flavor is the white one?
I believe it's grapefruit.
Yeah, so it's like an old squirt, the old soda. It's very similar to that flavor. It's like a sweetened grapefruit.
I just referenced a very American thing that neither of us understand.
He doesn't have squirt?
Hey, if you're asking me for squirt, you're going to get something really nasty in return.
No, thank you. No, thank you, sir. Yeah. The Americans know what I'm talking about.
I'm sure.
You guys
I'm
know
sure
about Surge, though, right?
I've heard of
Coca-Cola
Surge.
tried to... Yeah, okay. So Coca-Cola tried to do a Mountain Dew. That was Surge. I forget who did Squirt, but yeah, it was a sweetened grapefruit, kind of like Monster. You probably would have liked it, Pete, since you like the White Monster so much.
Anyway, let's move on. We got another bit.
This is what happens when DC doesn't give us enough books, which I'm happy about. A bunch of
nonsense.
I'm happy about that because I had more time to do other things this week. However, it leads to us talking about Squirt and Piss. So here we go.
Oh dear. Anyway,
That's what the people come for.
Yeah.
Let's not add that into this. All right. Batman Dark Patterns issue 2. Dan Waters writing with Hayden Sherman on the art. So yes, do you know what? This is one of these weird things where right before I started reading this, I'm like, oh god, what was issue 1? I've forgotten issue 1. And then like one page, I'm like, oh yes, the Wound Man and all this stuff. Yes, this was good.
Yeah, the Wound Man. Is it me or did this issue read stupidly quickly?
It was pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely didn't feel badly paced. I'll say that.
No.
For sure. Yeah, we've got the creepy coroner who's into things, and Batman's forced to take the Wound Man to him after apprehending him because the hospital is on fire. He's like, shit. The only option,
that, isn't it?
Yeah, the only option I have is to take him to this weird, creepy dude who probably set the fire himself, huffs. Knowing him.
Yeah, he huffs formaldehyde. Like, you do not want to leave a dying man with this man.
Yeah, I really liked his introduction in the first issue, just because it was like, oh, like, we've got this really dodgy guy who's now the one doing the autopsies, and Batman's like, Jim, seriously, you can't be letting this guy be touching dead bodies, right?
Look at this freak.
I just like that. Anyway, so Batman's scoping out the next likely victim based on the list that he got from the law office. It's all tied to this Ace Chemicals thing. Basically, by the end of this issue, it's pretty hinted at that whoever the Windman is, it was probably experimented on by the company that owns Ace Chemicals. And that's that's why he's going after the people he's going after. But again, it's still left open for some swerves, but that seems to be like the direction that it's heading in.
The man climbs up a drain pipe. Up how many stories? It looks like a lot.
At least a good 7 or 8.
Yeah. It looks so creepy. I'm getting with that. He looks a little bit like a Thousand-Eyed Man.
A lot bit of that, with all the
Ten-Eyed
pins.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, Connor was cooking the books there. It was Ten-Eyed Man.
Hey, it wasn't by the end.
Yeah, he's like a bit of Ten-Eyed Man, a bit of Pinhead, a bit of...
There's also a bit of Ragdoll from Secret Six.
Honestly,
in there.
I'm getting a little bit of bizarrely Nemesis from Resident Evil from, just in the sense that all the pins in the top half of his head kind of make me think of like that kind of vibe where the bottom half of the face feels exposed but the top half doesn't.
It's the fact that his lips are like withered away and you always see his teeth.
I really
there's
like
that.
the way that the pins over the top, it makes it look like he's wearing a cowl.
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
I look at this and as someone that watches a lot of pro wrestling, I think this man would be fantastic in a death match. Like
well,
the thumbtack spots,
Yeah, but except for the fact that he's got all these things stabbed into him that if any of them get touched, he'll die.
Well, let's just say he turned Cactus Jack into a real murderer. Right?
I mean,
like,
as cool as it is, it does, like him climbing up this drain pipe. I'm like, oh, if he just bumps something the wrong way once, he's dead. Like the gag reel version of this where he like kills himself accidentally and like falls to his death. Oh no, I've punctured a lung.
give it to Dan Waters for creating stuff from my nightmares. Right, him climbing up that drain pipe with everything sticking out of his back, like some,
Such a creepy introduction to him in this issue.
He's a human pincushion, like. Ugh.
Yeah, so Batman's waiting for him and sort of like grabs his chin because it's like the one place he can and tries to talk him down. Why are you laughing at that?
Just because the way that he has to gingerly grab it by the chin, right? So it's how you would get like an injured bird. That's how Batman has to treat this guy, So it's just thinking about how this is the guy that always kicks guys in the chest first, but he can't because he doesn't want to kill him. I think that's a fun little, an obstacle that Waters put in here.
Yeah, I will say, so Batman's way of taking him down, because he's had to think about this, is to like dose him with I don't know if it's chloroform, but something like that.
Yeah.
Is that he mentioned his narration, hey, this stuff's not like it is in like movies and comic books. Like it's actually much tougher to. And I'm like, okay, I get what you're going for here, but I will say that having him say that in a comic book when he's criticized other comic books for making it seem easy, doesn't change the fact that every other comic book that does this is going to do it easily from this point on. So
he could have said TV and movies.
Yeah.
It
just took me out of it for a little second because I'm like I'm going to see Batman do this, but in a 1,000
times.
Yeah, like it's going to be like a nothing thing next time I see it, even if this is technically out of continuity. But it's just a minor quirk for me. But it's like no, I love the visual, the Wind Man. I think Batman trying to take him down and like dealing with the puzzle of how do I fight him when I can't hit him because any hit will kill him and it will turn me into a murderer. That I really like. I really like him being forced to take him to the creepy coroner and saying, "Hey, phone Jim Gordon and have him come here and get him when he wakes up when he interrogate him." But Batman goes off to investigate where this guy might have came from and goes to a journalist who is doing like the shitty like aliens kidnap my neighbor like type of stories.
Well, it's because he used to be an actual journalist, but he started digging into the wrong people and they destroyed his career.
Yes.
Right? So now he's a tabloid kind of dude, but there's always some truth into those tabloid stuff. Yeah,
it's what sends Batman on the direction of the town without screams, which is where Batman ends up going. But this also kind of adds to the whole idea that the lawyers from Ace Chemicals like pounced on him kind of thing. And sure enough, we see that later on because Gordon ends up meeting like the guy who owns the company or whatever at the mayor's house. So
Did you recognize that name, Pete?
The name Sionis I definitely recognized.
Yeah.
I don't know if Christopher Sionis specifically rings a bell.
No, because it's usually Roman, and that's Black Mask. So this has to be a family member because they own. What they talked about it here. The name of Axis. He's a senior partner at Axis Core and the Janus Cosmetics. So Janus Cosmetics is usually what Black Mask runs. That's kind of his front. So there's some ties to Black Mask here, which I like, because if Bruce and the Waynes are like that good side of Gotham, I always like that the Sionises are the opposite side. You know, they had money as well, but they used it for the wrong reasons. So to tie this together is like this old Gotham story too. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, so obviously Batman's pissed that the coroner didn't call it in because he wanted to talk to him, like doctor to doctor. Because that is an interesting detail he brings out, though, is he's like, I can tell you're actually like from the medical profession because the way you have cut yourself with these things implies that you
too
know
much.
Yeah, know what you're doing. So I thought that was an interesting detail. And Batman goes to like upstate Gotham, where there's like a sort of suburban neighborhood. And everyone's kind of looking. It's a really interesting visual, actually, of Batman walking down the suburban street, and like just like all the people in the houses looking out, being like, "Holy shit, it's Batman!"
I don't think I've ever seen this. Granted, I haven't read every Batman book, right? But Batman in the suburbs—that's definitely something new.
Certainly not in broad daylight.
Wrong.
Oh, it does feel wrong, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's intentional. It feels weird.
Yeah.
Like he's not meant to belong here. But there's like one like abandoned house that says "Wound Man Heal Us" with like a sort of bloody sketch of him.
Like an effigy.
I love how it's just like a stick man with a bunch of like knives going through him. But it's like it gets the point across.
I'm curious about this town without streams. Like, did Ace Chemicals do some sort of experiment that left an entire town mute or something? Like, where are we going with this? I'm curious.
Maybe, I don't know. It could literally be anything. Like they threaten them with legal action so they don't talk. Is that what the town without screams is? Is it actually something more nefarious? Like they did do something that removed their voices, because when the creepo coroner, which I think that's what we should just call him from now on, because I know he has a name. But when he's talking to him, he talks about how when he placed all the pins and the knives and whatever, it's because he's looking to find the pain that's missing, right? So it's almost as if he can find that, he can solve whatever the problem is. So if he was the doctor in this small town, right, and he's the one that can solve all this, him not being able to, or if he's able to feel pain, maybe that's the key to it, and that's what he's looking for. So he's kind of this misunderstood kind of guy. Granted, he went and killed a bunch of people, right? But there are bigger things at play here.
Yeah, it sounds like they were testing like various anesthetics and things like that, like new stuff, and that's why he can't feel the pain. Yeah. And it kind of adds some context to when he says to Batman, "Hurt me, please hurt me," like he's trying to feel pain again. So, which is really dark and sinister when you like think about it. It's a really creepy thing to say to someone. The end of the issue, though, is Batman's in the suburban town. A bunch of, or two armed men break into the coroner's office, hit the coroner, and seemingly are kidnapping the Wound Man. So, yeah. So, interesting to see where that leads. But, now, I mean, this continued to have some creepy imagery. Wound Man's a really inspired, like, design and, like, just character to create. And then, like, some of the investigation's pretty interesting, so... Yeah, I'm deeply into the story. It's just a good Batman comic with a good mystery.
Yeah,
it gets to be
great art.
Yeah, it gets to be the detective-y book when the other books aren't quite doing as much of that now. So that's pretty cool. And the art's really solid. But particularly anytime the Wound Man's like on panel, or anytime Batman's like in silhouette, like that entire scene where he's talking to the journalist and he's just a silhouette against the blinds behind him. I think all that stuff looks really cool.
I like that, and I like how you always see the Bat logo. It's always lit up on there, breaking up that shadow. That's a lot of fun. Yeah.
So no, super invested still. Don't take me forgetting what this book was as a criticism of the story. It's more just there's so many Batman books that it's very easy to forget which one was which by the time they come back around.
There was a point when we got ready to start talking about Batman and Robin. I started thinking the events from this book were in that one, just because I read them so close together.
It's funny you say that, because one of my thoughts as we were starting to talk about Batman and Robin is, I need to mention the coroner character, and then went, oh wait, no, that wasn't this book. That was the next one.
You're thinking there's the Doctor in that one,
Yep. And it's just, they're not similar really at all. It's just we're reading Batman books that are, they're both very good. They both have their own unique vibes, but when they drop on the same week, there's a lot of cables that get crossed.
Yeah, Batman, first world problems, I guess. That's all it is.
Hey.
It definitely makes me want to go check out more of the kind of horror stuff that Dan Waters has done, leading up to this, because I'm really enjoying this. I always loved when he did Ten-Eyed Man in those backups and in that Arkham book, the Hidden City or whatever it was.
Did you read his Azrael stuff? That was him.
No, I think I'm going to, though.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, but I definitely I'm looking here. He's done some Sandman stuff for DC. I might check some of that stuff out. But yeah, this is just some really top tier stuff here.
Yeah, Azrael, the poor man's Jason Todd.
You could say Jason Todd is the rich man's Azrael.
I just highlight in Parks and Recreation. They've got Jerry, who they all say "damn it, Jerry," and they sort of make fun of him and all that. But then there's Kyle, who's like the one that Jerry makes fun of. I feel like that's who Azrael is to Jason Todd.
Here's the thing, though: Azrael's actually crazy and will stab you with a flaming sword. So Jason Todd's just can't get over his own death and hits people with crowbars. Yeah, one is much more metal than the other.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm upsetting all 5 Azrael fans. I'm sure are mad at me for making fun of him right now.
There are tens of us.
Look, I'm not trying to take Azrael away. I hope you get a nice little Azrael mini to satiate you sometime soon.
Hey, the last one was pretty good. So
I have no ill will. I just don't really care about Azrael. There's 29 major Bat characters. I've only got room in my heart for about 25 of them. Right? There's a few have to get left behind.
Name the 4 that you don't have time in.
Red Hood Azrael.
Azrael.
2 more.
Who else? I just pulled that number out my ass. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm calling you out of the woods.
I'm just trying to think of who else.
Yeah.
Duke.
He's probably a contender, for next.
You mean The Signal?
The Signal, yes.
Oh God.
Who remembers The Signal? You can't stop the signal. That's a quote from a great movie. That's probably because.
Anyways.
Yeah, I like all the other Robins. I like all the Batgirls. I like Batwoman. I like yeah, just those 3. There you go.
You can't even find 4 that you don't care about. It's just not good enough.
Just the 2. And he had to deal with. Yeah, well, we didn't have Azrael. We're talking about him, but we had both of them this month. No, we didn't this week. So here we are.
No.
Anyways, we should rate this.
We should. Matt, what are you giving Batman Dark Patterns?
I'm giving this a solid 8.
Connor?
I am shockingly going to agree and also give an 8.
Boom.
I think I'm going to one up you and say 8.5.
Ooh, okay.
Very good. So there you go. All right. Well, we also have a Patreon book to do every month to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can maybe read a book at one of the higher tiers. We're back to American Vampire 1976 today. This is issue 4 of said series. And I actually thought it was a kind of an abrupt shift at the start of this issue because it doesn't really pick up where the cliffhangers left off from last issue. It just kind of jumps ahead to when all the main characters are together again. And notably, I don't know if I've ever even seen all these characters together before in one place. They kind of point that out even. So we've got Pearl is there. Felicia's flying the plane that they're on. You've got Jim Book. You've got Skinner, obviously. You've got Travis. You've got Cal. And you've got Mimita, who was just sort of reintroduced at the end of last issue as the original American Vampire. So they're already together. They're already plotting a plan and what do we do to deal with the rise of the beasts that may be happening soon?
And the fun little flying monkey vampire guy that's with Felicia. Whatever his name is.
Oh yeah,
He's fun.
the gnome or the golem or whatever he is.
Yeah, whatever he is, he's
the
fun.
rock face, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're saying how this like area they're going into, like, so the mountain that the hidden, so they're looking for the location where the council of like vampires meet, and they got that location from the George Washington document they stole from the train, and that was what the last few issues was about, and it leads them to this mountain. And they say this is a weird place for like all the elder vampires to meet because there's only one species that's known to have ever been in this area, and it's the Mad Giants, right? Which they tease here early on, and that's actually what the cliffhanger at the end of the book is that they run into some Mad Giants at the end of the issue.
The mountain that here is Matterhorn, and for Disney fans, there's a ride at Disneyland that is the Matterhorn. But for the sake of this book, it's in Switzerland, which is, traditionally a neutral site. So the fact that the Council of Vampires, right, would be on this kind of neutral site, I think was a fun little piece here.
I'm assuming that's not just on the. I'm assuming the real Matterhorn's in.
It's in Switzerland.
In Switzerland, yeah. It's not just a book thing. Yeah. The way you said that, like, in the American Vampire universe, it's in Switzerland.
Yes.
I
meant different from Disney, right? So real quick, the reason that there's a big mountain in the middle of Disneyland is they needed, a place to cover. They used to have the Skyway, right? They needed to cover up the main tower there. So they built this mountain around it and they put a roller coaster into it. And now there's this big mountain in the middle of a theme park. And it looks just like here, which, good job to those guys. But yeah, the fact that it's in Switzerland and it was kind of the meeting spot for this original council of all of the different monsters, I thought was fun.
Matt's getting his Disney adult time in here. I'm sure I've asked you this before, because but just in case you don't know it, do you know what a code grandma is?
A code grandma?
At Disneyland. It's a code the employees have for something. Oh, I'm excited to tell you this. What do you think a code grandma is?
Okay, so I know what a code V is, or a protein spill, and that's when someone pukes.
Right, okay.
Is a code grandma when someone is sprinkling grandma's ashes on a ride? And they have to,
it's when someone is caught sprinkling ashes at Disneyland because weirdos like you who love Disney want to have their ashes spread at Disneyland.
Yes. All it does is, as they said, is you end up in a vacuum. So
I'm sure, yeah.
Family members don't do that. All right.
Anyway, so they're on the way to the mountains. Skinner's giving them shit because he's just in a mood, because he always is, pretty much. So yeah, there's a bunch of build up here. There's some exposition, sort of talking about, just some more of the lore here, and how George Washington made a deal with this like council of vampires back at in the formation of the country and all that. So he knows where the secret place is. So they go through all this. We get a little bit more with the Agent Bixby, who is currently working for the president, but is also working for the Grey Trader and is terrified of what's coming. And he's very distracted because the president's saying, "Hey, which design should I approve tonight? The new nuclear football or the fireworks that's going to be going out for the bicentennial?" Which I then realized, it's 1976, so that sounds about right. So very cool. And as he's thinking of the fireworks, he basically starts picturing what's going to happen when the beast rises up out the ground and all the monsters are coming out into the world. And he's really jumpy. He sees the new chef that works at the White House might be a monster. I don't know if he actually is or if he's just imagining it because he's so paranoid right now. But
yeah, it's to me I read that as he's looking at every little thing as something bad.
Yeah, very, very good stuff. It was making me kind of excited for the big thing coming. So yeah, there's a bit more with the characters on the plane. Book tries to tell Skinner to be less of a dick to Pearl, because she's such a good person, and describes that when he first met her, and this was not that long ago, she was actually working on a movie set again, and it was a remake of the movie that she was shooting before she became a vampire. And the reason why she did this is because she always loved movies and she wanted to not become a famous star, but because she wanted to be a part of something bigger. And Book proposes, because Skinner tries to say that, I only turned her into a vampire because I thought I sensed that she could be a good bad girl or something. And he's like, no, maybe the reason why you turned her is because you actually subconsciously realized that she might see the good in you. and like Skinner's always fighting the idea that there's any good in him, of course. So I thought that was an interesting little scene to sort of like, again, because we're getting towards the end of the entire story at this point, so like having some like sort of recontextualization of the start of everything with Pearl and Skinner, because that's where we started the whole thing, made some sense to me. Meanwhile, Calvin's trying to talk to Mimita and like find out more about her, because he's fascinated because she's like the original American vampire, and she ends up studying him more than he studies her, which I thought was an amusing little touch. But she basically says that we're still part of the humans, even though you see yourself as separate, and I've got more purpose there. If we survive this, if we stop this apocalypse, I'm still going to have stuff to do. There's still like rights that I have to go and fight for my people and things like that. It's not going away just because I've won this vampire war.
Yeah, she got turned into something, right? But she also turned that is like it reconnected her to her humanity, because she's still part of all these big, right? Her being a Native American, she brings up like the protests at, Alcatraz and Mount Rushmore and in Plymouth and stuff, and her fight is still for her people, and part of that is her ties to humanity. Whereas, the other vampires, as soon as they get turned, they become something, they throw that humanity out. And it's almost like this also a commentary on colonialism, right? Is that she's been colonized. She sees the other side. She's been a part of that. And yeah, there was a fun little twist here.
Yeah, just fleshing out some of the characters. But obviously we're getting towards the end and the action that must come, which is that because they've got Dracula's head in the box. In fact, Travis tries to cheer up Felicia by saying, "Hey, that bastard Dracula, like, your kid told me like what he did when you first encountered him back in the Lord of Nightmares miniseries. So he suffered when he died. I want you to know that." And she's like, "Shut up! I don't want to know. I don't want to hear about it." But Dracula's head still has some power, and it's attracting all these vampire bats to the plane, so the plane just gets swarmed and like starts to go down. So Pearl has to do an emergency landing into the side
Felicia.
Into the side of a mountain. In fact, Pearl has to hold Skinner back because Skinner's trying to stop them from doing this. But they do make it. Big set piece concluded. They go in, they see these big thrones sitting around for this meeting of the council that's supposed to happen every so often. But the cliffhanger, of course, is the mad giants are there. So you can't even see what they're looking at really in that page where they react to them. It's not until the last page you see the heads of the giant vampires looking down at them. So yeah, they look kind of like a cross between like a Yeti and like a frost giant from Norse myth. So again, Snyder playing with folklore and all that type of stuff to make these vampires work, because we also kind of get a little tease of them. Where's it at when they're talking about them? Yes,
they're on the bottom of that page where was it Pearl is explaining everything. There's a small picture of them. So definitely terrifying.
Yeah, they were explaining that they kind of fled to this area because when the Earth was heating up again after the Ice Age that they were living through, they came here because it was more suitable to their needs or whatever.
Because they're kind of the basis for Titans, trolls, anything in folklore is of this big monster that kidnaps and eats people. Kind of ties back to these mad giants.
Yeah, so I expect there'll be some big action sequences at the start of next issue. I mean, they're making it feel like this is like a proper difficult trek to get to this place they need to get to. So I mean, it's making for fun. Overall, I'm digging this arc. I'm digging the vibe. This issue, pacing wise, it started off a bit weird because it felt like it just jumped into them already. Like we'd skip some of the story almost just to get them already on this journey. And I do wonder if that's part of like Snyder knew he had X number of issues left, and it was just I have to take some shortcuts here or there just to get things moving so we could end it where it needs to end. But no, I mean, art's really solid. I like the build of dread and the subplot with Bixby. I think those visuals and him, like that scene from the issue or two ago where like it took his mother's voice and the Grey Trader kind of consumed him for a bit. Like just proper creepy stuff. Like it's been some of the highlights of the entire like second cycle. I know this isn't called that, but but I'm still kind of considering it part of that because the Grey Trader stuff started at the start of second cycle, so it feels like all one big, side of it. So, yeah, all right. Do you want to rate it since you read it as well?
No, I don't have to rate this. That's your project.
Okay.
I just you started talking about the history stuff and that train, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get caught up because this is the one part of American Vampire I didn't get to finish. So I picked up the trade, and here we are. And now we got Frost Giants, so it's good.
Yeah. It's probably a solid 8 out of 10. I think it just doesn't quite have the perfect pacing. And there is a lot of like really talky scenes in the middle, so I'll give it an 8 overall. But I'm digging the direction it's going in, even if it's lost maybe some of the outright mystique that it's had, in the earlier days of the book.
Yeah.
So, cool. All right, that'll bring us on to the final part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel/moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and of course, and it's been a long time since this has been an issue, but. Usually it's top 5 books. This week it'll just be rank the 4 books you read. So, all right, Matt, what was your panel/moment of the week?
All right, I was going through and I was thinking about some from Batman and Robin, which are some good ones. Obviously, Aquaman versus the Water Kaiju is up there. But one of the ones that really stuck with me was Batman walking through the suburbs in Dark Patterns. So that's going to be mine.
All right, Connor?
I'm going to go with the Wound Man climbing the drain pipe. That was creepy, and just as an introduction to him in this issue, just like straight back to, oh yeah, this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that may even be mine, to be honest. I do like, there's a few moments in Batman and Robin I quite like, and I think Absolute Batman does have a bunch of good ones too. And the final page of Aquaman, to be fair, was quite a nice surprise, but I think I also kind of have to go with the Wound Man. If not climbing the drain pipe, then probably when Batman kind of tries to grab him, but only by the chin because that's literally the only thing he can touch. It's like, oh dear, this is all very it's like David Fincher's Seven had sex with Hellraiser, and this came out. So very good. Yeah. All right, Connor, cover of the week.
There's a few good ones. There's a couple of really good ones. I'm torn between 2. I'm torn between the Simmons variant for Dark Patterns. I think that's gorgeous. But I might just have to edge it to the Francavilla cover for Absolute Batman.
Yeah,
I think both are fantastic.
You're looking at very similar covers to I was. The only one I'll also mention is the Jorge Fornes cover for Absolute Batman, which is sort of Batman up in the rain.
I think it's nice, but I don't think it comes close to the Francavilla one for me.
The Francavilla one, he looks like a barbarian that's getting ready to smash Gotham. I love it.
I'm not saying this does. I just think it's good enough to be worth noting.
Worth a mention.
Yeah, the Francavilla one's very good, but I think I do have to go with the Dark Patterns variant from Simmons. It's just got that kind of almost, the Arkham Asylum, Serious House and Serious Earth style of art there. Kind of painting, but kind of messy and oily and scratchy. Really horror. It makes me want
Department of Truth back.
Was Simmons the artist on that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Matt?
So I'm shocked that Connor didn't mention the Tula Lote Aquaman.
I didn't. It's not my favorite Lotte piece. Okay. It's okay. It's fine, but I don't think it stacks up in a lesser week. Sure, but again, in this week, I don't think it sticks out.
Yeah. Well, because that one's mine. I like it. The muted kind of colors, the way that the green, she has the kind of green twinge all throughout her skin, right? The water, and then the hair is kind of up and wild. But yeah.
Oh wait, mine. Matt picked a cover with a redhead on it?
Shocker.
Is that what happened? Yeah. Strange to that.
Must be a day that ends in Y.
Yeah. All right, R of the week. 2 day. R of the week. I do think there's an argument for Batman and Robin, but I think Dark Patterns has to probably take it overall for me. Matt?
I feel the same, but opposite. I think you can make an argument for Dark Patterns, but I think that the way that the Carmine Giandomenico art works in with the regular artist, who I'm drawing a blank on right now, I think they work pretty hand in hand, so I give it to Batman and Robin.
Okay. Connor?
Shockingly, I'm also contemplating between the two books. I think I'm going to go with Batman and Robin because
Hernandez.
I think Dark Patterns is great and it's wonderfully atmospheric throughout. But I think for me, Batman and Robin relies on the art more. Like if you swap Batman and Robin out to a lesser artist, I think it would be just a by the numbers book. It'd be just fine. Whereas with the art, that sets all the vibe, the tone, like the whole mood of the book is tied up in that. Whereas I think Dark Patterns has enough going on in just the other areas of its script to kind of get by on if it had to get by on a lesser artist. So I'm going to go with Batman and Robin for that reason.
All right, Matt. Rank your 4 books.
All right, number 1 is going to be Batman and Robin. 2 is Batman Dark Patterns. 3 is Absolute Batman. 4 is Aquaman.
Matt loves Batman, confirmed. Connor.
Yeah, it's also going to be 3 Bat books to top it, but I'm going to go Dark Patterns, then Batman and Robin, and then Absolute, and then Aquaman.
I think I may have the exact same 4. 1's Dark Patterns. 2. I could make an argument for swapping them, but I think it will just be Batman and Robin at 2, and then Absolute at 3, and then Aquaman at 4. But I mean, I didn't dislike any books this week, so there's no shade on any of them. So very good. I'll tell you now what's coming next week from DC Comics. It's a little bit beefier, one would hope. So we have Nightwing 122. We have Batman Superman World's Finest 35. We have Action Comics 1082. Start of the next mini arc from a new team. We have Titans 19, Batman and Robin Year 1 Issue 4, The New Gods Issue 2, The Question All Along the Watchtower Issue 3, Nice House by the Sea Issue 5. We have the Green Lantern Fractured Spectrum Issue 1 Special, which will lead into the new Green Lantern Core book that's coming soon, so that'll be interesting. We have Challenges of the Unknown Issue 2, Black Lightning Issue 3, and Jenny Sparks Issue 6. Plus, there's one of those Wayne Family Adventures books and some facsimiles and reprints and whatnot. So that's what's coming next week from DC Comics. So, yes. But that is the show, everyone. Let us know what you thought of any of the books this week in the comments. Like, subscribe, because support us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. If you haven't checked out the other YouTube channels, MailFuzz TV and MailFuzz Movies, where the podcasts live for those various subjects, then go and have a look-see. But that's pretty much it. And maybe we'll see Connor sometime in the next 3 months.
Hopefully. Not next week.
We don't know next week. Yeah, we don't know next week for sure. But hey, who knows? It may happen sooner than you think.
That sounds like a threat.
It did, yeah.
Dear. But that is the show, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.